Hello again. Christina Simmons with the Catholic Leadership Puzzle with the next topic for us in our consideration. We've spoken about the evangelization cycle of its importance for people on an individual level to understand what that process looks like, but then especially for your group, your ministry, parish staff, for example, when we're talking church stuff, and to understand, because that is what informs your vision and your mission. And then we talked about holistic formation, what those guiding principles are of how we need to be focusing upon, all aspects of who the person is in their spiritual life, as well as their human, their personal, and then also the intellectual formation. And then finally, that apostolic formation, how they're going out and living it. And this is, made real in everyone's life by a rule of life or a plan of life, as it's also known. And this is also where you see, as a community, you see proactive stewardship happening. Sorry, I say that again. This is where ministry battle rhythm comes out. In other words, there's a particular time when you're focusing upon human, social connections, and other times when you're focusing upon intellectual formation, others for spiritual formation, and then, of course, you're doing the work throughout all of that. So there's this rhythm that develops. So then from there, our best practices and skills of where we have, holistic formation, CPR. I talked about how this becomes your best practices, all incorporated into one, of where you're focusing upon the customized formation, the personalized accountability, all done in relationship. That's what CPR is, with those guiding principles of holistic formation at work. And that's where you then get into proactive stewardship, of where, because people understand what they're supposed to be about, because they understand vision and mission, and then they know what they are doing in their own plan of life, and then this all incorporates so that then they're able to proactively begin to anticipate, what do I need to be doing? How do I need to set aside my time? How does my schedule need to reflect so that my time, talent, and treasure is used in the way that I desire? So all of that then, of course, is done in relationship. And my last post was about the importance of the preeminent value of the person, each person that we interact with, and how it is that we need to be focused upon them, not just as a number or statistic, but rather upon them as an individual human being. So today, in order to continue that, that theme, I'm going to focus upon communication. Now, you might be going, duh, Christina, of course there's communication, but the fact is that too often we're not communicating in the manner in which is going to assist each person in understanding their role, within an organization, but then also on a personal level, so that they are able to continue their own growth. So one of the two things I want you to kind of keep in mind is, on a personal level, is about being clear and concise and direct. This is not about, saying things that are harmful or hurtful, so that we're clear and concise and direct, but rather that we are bearing in mind that we have to attempt to be as clear and as concise and as direct as possible when we're speaking with individuals, so that they are able to understand completely. And then the other, thing that we need to be attentive to is the fact that our understanding of the mission and needs, and then knowledge of all the different ways that we can communicate as an organization, also needs to come into play. So this is where so often, particularly within church, we only look at paper. It's kind of amusing in the sense of, we're supposed to be ecologically, we're supposed to be protecting and being good stewards of the environment, but yet every time we do a piece of paper, we're killing a tree, right? I mean, it's just a good way to kind of, think about it. And that doesn't mean that we don't make copies at all, but rather it is, we need to be attentive to, am I making paper to make paper? Or is there another way that I could be communicating? Could I be using a website or social media as a means through which people can get the same information that I'm trying to send out? In addition, Sending out text messaging is a huge piece. But then also, how it is that we design things, how it is that we are, helping people find the answer to their questions. So when someone comes, and they have a question or they want to do something, are we taking them through the steps so that way they're able to get the information and also complete the steps? And probably the biggest thing that we need to be attentive to is that we have to be doing it more with video. We have to be using video. YouTube, there's a reason why YouTube is in existence, and there's other platforms, Vimeo, etc. But the fact is that we need to be using video as much as we use audio, which we rarely use at all. But yet, look at the boom in podcasts. Look at the desire that people have for hearing and listening to information. Bible in a year, Catechism in a year, case in points. So we need to be using all aspects of communication, not just paper, not just a bulletin, not just the website, but rather we have to be engaging and interactive. One of the biggest ways we can do that, of course, is that it is only because we know what we are about. We have that vision and mission always before us. That's how we are able to become clear and concise and direct. Are we just using words, or is there an easier, clearer, more concise and more direct way that we can communicate the same information? In journalism, it used to be the 5 W's and the how. So you used to always talk about what and who. And then, of course, you would be talking about where, and then, you're talking about your why, and then, finally, you're talking about your how. And so it's something that, we have to be attentive to. Am I providing the information that's needed in the context of writing it? So we have to be doing all of these things. Finally, I want to share something that I first encountered in the military, but it was actually my husband, and he had gotten it from someone else, and he incorporated it into all of his work. And it's something with not just in the military, but also within the business and within everything that I have done. I have encouraged people to be able to do this, and it's called the communication flow. And what it is that it's about how we share information and the need to share information. Our world today very much thinks that communication sent is communication received, and that is far from the case. Communication sent is not communication received because there's so much information that's coming at people. So often they're overwhelmed and they'll miss the piece of information that they need. So we need to be doing extra work, especially as leaders, to be able to ensure that the information has been received by those who need it. So one of the biggest things is that at the very beginning, so like this is if you're assigning someone a task, this is the process that it should look like. So you ask someone, if they're, to do something for you. Number one, when you're communicating it, you're trying to do it clearly, concisely, and directly. And then this is something that so often we don't do. We don't ask people the question, so what do you think the task is that I've just given you? And you ask them to give you a brief back, just in summary. So it doesn't have to be all the details, but it has to be the basics. It has to be, okay, who is it that's involved? What is involved? Where is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? And then why is it happening? And then how is going to be something that they will work out. But those 5 W's. So you get that back. Do they understand what they're supposed to be doing? So it's giving the information, then it's getting a brief back. Getting a brief back is a key point. Then once they go off to do things, then you've established, or you should establish, when do you want to hear about progress? Do you want to hear about progress every time that something moves ahead, or do you want a in-time progress? So if, for example, every week you get a progress, a status of what's going on. So that continues. Report progress, report progress, report progress. And finally, reporting completion. So does that mean that you're not having communication or conversation in the midst of this? No. Each time that you report progress or progress is reported to you, then you need to say, yes, I received that progress report. Thank you. It could be just simple as received. Okay, but you're acknowledging that you have received their progress report and that they are providing the information so that you're able to make decisions based upon what information and what is going on for them. Then also the final part, of course, is reporting completion. So often an event will come or go, or it's not even time sensitive. And, there's just a presumption of, well, obviously it's done. No. You need to report it. So this is what we have to be always doing when we're communicating with one another. It seems like it's overkill, right? Seems like it's, kind of being in people's stuff. But actually what happens is that then you're able to stay out of people's stuff. You're able to give them the freedom to do it however they want because they're telling you what's going on. When they're reporting progress, they're also able to then also say, hey, this is where I am right now, but I need your assistance. Make this phone call, or I need access to this, or who do I contact? So it's continuing to keep the communication channels open. And this is so important. We cannot just do a 1 cent and then presume that the information has, 1, all been received properly, 2, that it's all being done, and 3, that is going to be completed. So one of the big things that we have to do in communication is being attentive to, on a personal level, doing this, but then also on an organizational level, doing this as well. So I hope that this has helped you, and I would love to know your thoughts, especially about that communications loop, that giving the information, getting that brief back, the continuing to report progress, going back and forth, saying that you received it, and then when the task has been completed. So again, I hope that this has helped you and look forward to talking with all of you again soon.